Imagine you have a hymn-like texture, and you'd like to bring it to life by adding movement. You don't want to alter the fundamental harmonies, but you want each voice to come alive in its own way. Embellishing Tones will help you to achieve this goal. One of the simplest techniques, known as a chordal skip, is to leap between notes of the same chord. Instead of repeating the opening G in the bass, for instance, the voice could begin down the octave and leap up to the downbeat of measure 1. Another common way to provide movement is to fill in gaps between successive notes. Instead of leaping from C to A in the tenor voice, for instance, we could fill in the gap with a passing tone, that is, a note that passes between two chord tones. Note that the B here is not part of either chord. It serves as a link between two stable tones. In addition to giving a sense of movement, passing tones also give a sense of direction, because they serve to join two different notes. Neighbor tones, on the contrary, create movement within stability by introducing an intervening step upward or downward between repeated notes. The alto voice, for instance, could be rewritten to include repetition. We can then create movement between those notes with a lower neighbor tone. We can also rewrite the tenor voice in the same measure to include a neighbor tone of its own. To this point, passing tones and neighbor tones have all occurred on an offbeat. It's possible, though, to move these embellishments so that they arrive on the beat. Doing so emphasizes the dissonance, creating a strong accent, and as such, we refer to these on-beat embellishments as accented passing tones and neighbor tones. The bass voice, for instance, contains a third between C and A that we can fill in with a passing tone on the second beat. One final embellishment involves delaying the arrival of an expected note, a technique known as a suspension. Any descending step is a potential candidate for a suspension, but it's essential to use your ears to determine whether or not it works well musically. Generally speaking, suspensions include three parts: a consonant preparation, a dissonance, and a resolution. The descending step in the alto voice from measures 3 to 4 is a good candidate for a suspension. Instead of sounding F sharp on the downbeat, we delay its arrival by holding on to the preceding G for an extra beat, such that it creates a dissonance on the downbeat. Notice how G originates as part of a G major chord. This is the consonant preparation. It is then held over to become a dissonance on the downbeat of the final measure. This is the dissonance. And finally, it moves to the expected F sharp. This is the resolution. We can apply this same technique to other descending steps, like the soprano in measure 2. With our embellishments in place, we can increase blend and smoothness by transforming at least some repeated notes into held notes. There is value in repeating notes, so use your artistic judgment to determine which repeated notes you'd like to smooth over. Let's listen now to the original version and the embellished version side by side.